In this video, we delve into a profound question. Why did Jesus have to die? It's a question that's been asked countless times across centuries. This query is not just a simple one to answer. It's layered with deep intricacies and hidden meanings. We will trace back to the roots of this question, starting from the biblical story of Eden, where the saga of human mortality began. We'll explore how, despite our exile from Eden, God provided a way for humanity to attain eternal life through rituals in the Tabernacle and Temple. We'll then delve into the significance of Jesus' death, which is often interpreted as a sacrifice for sin, a victory over death, and an act of selfless love. We'll also uncover the nuanced meanings hidden within the Greek words used to describe Jesus' death. So, buckle up as we embark on this enlightening journey together, and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more wisdom from the Bible. Before we go any further, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. To understand why Jesus had to die, we first need to go back to the beginning, to the biblical story of Eden. Here, in a garden of perfect harmony and peace, lived the first humans, Adam and Eve. Their lives were defined by a special relationship with God, one that offered them eternal life. God, in his boundless love, gave them one simple command: not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This was not a test of obedience, but rather a choice between trusting God's wisdom or relying on their own understanding. Yet the serpent, a symbol of deceit and manipulation, convinced Eve that eating the fruit would make her wise like God. This was the first deception, the original sin. Eve and subsequently Adam ate the fruit, choosing their own wisdom over God's. This act of defiance against God's commandment led to their expulsion from Eden and brought mortality into the world. This story is more than just a tale of disobedience. It's an epic narrative of humanity's struggle with the concept of mortality, the reality of death that came as a consequence of rejecting God's offer of eternal life. This original sin, this act of defiance, set the stage for a world where humans were no longer in perfect harmony with God, a world where death was an inevitable part of life. But even in this moment of profound tragedy, there was a glimmer of hope. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, did not abandon humanity to its fate. He made a promise to Adam and Eve, a promise that despite their disobedience, he would provide a way for them to attain the eternal life they had lost. This promise was the first hint of a plan, a divine plan that would unfold over centuries. Despite the exile from Eden, God had a plan for humanity, a way to attain eternal life. God's plan involved rituals performed in the Tabernacle and the Temple. These sacred spaces, the Tabernacle and the Temple, were not just buildings. They were vital parts of a divine plan intricately designed to help humanity find a path back to eternal life. The Tabernacle, a portable sanctuary, and the Temple, a grand structure in Jerusalem, were places where people could interact with God. They were the stage for a variety of rituals, offerings, sacrifices, and ceremonies. But what was the purpose of these rituals? They were not arbitrary, but rather symbolic actions reflecting a profound truth. Each ritual was a testament to life's sanctity, an affirmation of God's desire to preserve and protect it. The sacrificial offerings, for instance, were not about destruction, but about life. Animals were offered as a symbolic gesture of giving life back to the one who gave it. Similarly, the ritual of burning incense represented prayers rising up to God, a communication of humanity's longing for life and peace. The ceremonial washing of priests was a symbol of purification, a sign of cleansing from the impurities of life, and a preparation to stand in the presence of the giver of life, God himself. These rituals were not just about following a set of rules, they were about participating in a divine narrative, a story of life, loss, and restoration. They were about recognizing the sacredness of life and the need to protect it. These rituals were powerful, but they were not the ultimate solution. They were a means to an end, a way of pointing towards something greater. They were signposts leading to a final answer, a solution that could truly overcome death and restore life. However, these rituals were not the end game. The ultimate solution was yet to come. The rituals of the Tabernacle and the Temple were part of a bigger picture, a divine plan that would eventually be fulfilled in an unexpected and remarkable way. But that's a story for another scene. Stay tuned. Enter Jesus, the embodiment of God's plan for humanity. Jesus' mission was not only to teach and heal, but also to serve as the ultimate sacrifice for human sins. He was to become the final offering, the pivotal point where mortality meets eternity, where sin meets redemption. His sacrifice was meant to echo through the ages, a beacon of hope and love, an act of divine mercy. In the grand narrative of humanity, Jesus' death on the cross was a defining moment. It was a sacrifice that goes beyond human comprehension. In the Old Testament, the shedding of an animal's blood in the temple was a ritual to cleanse the people of their sins. However, Jesus' sacrifice was different. His death was not just an act of atonement, it was a profound demonstration of selfless love. His sacrifice was not in vain. Jesus' death marked a victory over death itself, a victory that promised eternal life to all who believe in him. The stone that sealed his tomb was rolled away, not to let the living in, but to let the resurrected out. Through his death and resurrection, Jesus conquered death, bringing hope to a world enshrouded in sin and despair. In accepting his fate on the cross, Jesus revealed the extent of God's love for humanity. His sacrifice was an act of divine love, a love so profound that it was willing to endure the utmost suffering to bring about redemption. It was a testament to the lengths that God was willing to go to restore the broken relationship between him and his creation. Remember, Jesus' sacrifice was not a mere transaction. It was a transformative event, an act that forever changed the course of human history. His death was a sacrifice that transcended the temporal and touched the eternal, a sacrifice that brought about a new covenant between God and humanity. Jesus' death was not just a sacrifice, but also a victory. The phrase, "Jesus died for us," is loaded with profound meanings. It's not just a simple statement, it's a multifaceted declaration that can be interpreted in various ways, each offering a unique perspective on the significance of Jesus' death. Firstly, there's the interpretation that Jesus' death was a sacrifice for sin. This perspective sees Jesus as the ultimate sacrificial lamb, willingly giving his life as a payment for the sins of humanity. This view is steeped in the tradition of the Old Testament, where sacrifices were a common practice to atone for sins. Then there's the interpretation of Jesus' death as a victory over death itself. In this view, Jesus' resurrection is seen as a triumphant defeat of death, symbolizing the promise of eternal life for those who believe in him. The power of death was broken, and through Jesus, we too can experience victory over death. Lastly, we have the interpretation of Jesus' death as an act of selfless love. This perspective emphasizes Jesus' willingness to suffer and die for the sake of humanity, showcasing the depth of his love for us. This is the ultimate demonstration of selfless love, a love so profound that it was willing to pay the ultimate price. These interpretations are not mutually exclusive, but rather they complement each other, each adding a layer of understanding to the narrative of Jesus' death. They help us understand the complexity of the phrase, "Jesus died for us," unpacking the rich meanings hidden within these four simple words. But remember, these are just some of the multifaceted interpretations. There are countless others, each offering a unique perspective on this profound event. The beauty of this phrase lies in its complexity, inviting us to delve deeper and explore the many layers of its meaning. Each interpretation adds another layer of understanding to the question, why did Jesus have to die? Each one offers a unique lens through which we can view this event, helping us better understand the profound significance of Jesus' death. The Greek words used in the Bible add another dimension to our understanding. As we delve into this, we find that the language of the original biblical texts, which is primarily Greek, holds some fascinating insights that can deepen our grasp of Jesus' crucifixion. Let's start with the Greek word stauros, which we often translate as cross. Stauros actually refers to an upright stake or pole, and by extension, it came to mean a method of execution that involved nailing or binding a person to such a stake. This gives us a vivid image of the physical suffering Jesus endured. Next up, we have the Greek term apolutrosis. This term, often translated as redemption, carries a sense of liberation or release obtained through a payment or a ransom. When referenced in the context of Jesus' death, apolutrosis underscores the idea that Jesus' sacrifice was a form of payment, a ransom that led to our liberation from sin and death. The Greek word agape is another key term. While it's typically translated as love, agape carries a deeper connotation of selfless, sacrificial love. It's the kind of love that gives without expecting anything in return. This word sheds light on the nature of Jesus' sacrifice. It was an act of ultimate, selfless love, a gift given without any expectation of return. Lastly, there's anastasis, often translated as resurrection. The term anastasis itself suggests a standing up again, a revival. This word gives us an insight into the victory over death that Jesus' resurrection represents, a triumph that paves the way for our own potential resurrection and eternal life. Each of these Greek words carries its own nuance, its own shade of meaning that can enrich our understanding of the events surrounding Jesus' death. They remind us that the story of Jesus' sacrifice is not just a tale of death, but also of love, redemption, and victory over mortality. These Greek nuances enrich our comprehension of why Jesus had to die. In conclusion, why did Jesus have to die? Is a complex question with multifaceted answers. We have journeyed through the maze of theological interpretations, historical contexts, and cultural nuances to unravel this profound question. We began with the concept of original sin, tracing back to the biblical story of Eden, where human mortality originated from rejecting God's offer of eternal life. The exile from Eden was not the end, however, as God provided a path for humanity to regain eternal life. This path was depicted through the rituals in the Tabernacle and Temple. These rituals, though they may seem archaic to some, were vital stepping stones in the grand narrative of salvation. They served as a tangible reminder of both humanity's need for redemption and God's promise to provide it. The ultimate fulfillment of this promise came through Jesus, who became the ultimate sacrifice. His crucifixion was more than just a historical event. It was a divine act of sacrificial love, a victory over death, and a means to preserve life. The multifaceted interpretations of Jesus' death remind us that this event holds deep, nuanced meanings. Whether viewed as a sacrifice for sin, a victory over death, or an act of selfless love, each interpretation brings its own unique insights. The Greek nuances in the phrase, "Jesus died for us," further deepen our understanding. These nuances highlight the complexity of the event and invite us to explore its profound implications. In essence, understanding why Jesus had to die is not merely about unpacking a theological event. It's about tracing the narrative thread of God's love for humanity, a thread that runs from Eden to the cross and beyond. We hope this discussion has shed some light on this profound question. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment below and share your experiences as a Christian. Thank you for joining us on this journey of understanding.